3 masked gunmen, 1 terrified waitress, and a billionaire who'd been living a lie for 6 months. When Keisha slipped that note to the customer in table 7, she had no clue she was about to become the target of a conspiracy that would either make her rich beyond imagination or dead before midnight. The man she was trying to save, he owned the very ground she stood on, and the killers hunting him were about to discover she knew too much to live. Keisha Williams had memorized every photograph in the employee break room at Ruby's Diner. Company history, awards, newspaper clippings, and right there in the center, a picture of the man who owned everything she touched every day. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and comment where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now let's get into the story. Nathan Cross, 38 years old, worth $2.8 billion, and currently sitting at table 7 wearing a faded baseball cap and jeans that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He had no idea she knew exactly who he was. And he definitely didn't know that the 2 men by the window had been watching him for the past hour with the kind of focus that made her skin crawl. Nathan had bought Ruby's Diner 6 months ago, not as an investment, but as an escape. When board meetings felt like prison sentences and every conversation revolved around stock prices, he'd slip away to this little corner of authenticity. Nobody knew him here. Nobody wanted anything from him except a good meal and friendly service. At least, that's what he thought. The waitress approaching his table moved like water, smooth, graceful, confident. When she smiled, something electric shot through his chest. He'd been coming here twice a week for months, always requesting her section, always finding excuses to make conversation. "Good afternoon, mister." She paused, letting him fill in whatever name he wanted to give today. "Jake," he said, same as always. "Jake Morrison." Her eyes sparkled with something that looked like mischief. "Well, Jake Morrison, you look like a man who needs to celebrate something today." God, her voice was like honey, deep, warm, with just a hint of playfulness that made him wonder what she was really thinking. "What makes you say that?" She leaned slightly closer, and he caught a hint of vanilla perfume mixed with coffee. "Because you've got that look, like you're carrying the weight of the world, but today you want to set it down for a while." How did she see him so clearly? "Maybe I do want to celebrate," he admitted. "What would you recommend?" "Champagne," she said without hesitation. Life's too short not to drink champagne on a Tuesday afternoon. Keisha's heart was racing, but not because of the champagne order. It was because of the way Nathan Cross, Jake Morrison, was looking at her. Like she was the most fascinating woman he'd ever met. Like he wanted to know every secret she'd ever kept. 3 months ago, she'd started working extra shifts just hoping he'd come in. She'd memorized his coffee order, black, 2 sugars, his favorite booth, 7 by the window, and the way his eyes lit up when he laughed. She was falling for a man who didn't even know her real name. Well, 2 could play that game. "I'll get that champagne for you, Jake," she said, letting his fake name roll off her tongue like a private joke. But as she turned toward the bar, her stomach dropped. The 2 men by the window weren't just watching Nathan anymore. One was on his phone, speaking in urgent whispers. The other had his hand inside his jacket, fingers wrapped around something that definitely wasn't a wallet. And they were both staring directly at her now. They knew that she knew. Nathan watched Keisha walk away, and felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Pure, uncomplicated attraction. Not to his money or his power or his connections. She had no idea who he really was, which meant every smile, every laugh, every moment of connection between them was real. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop playing games, Cross. We know where you are. Time to pay what you owe." Ice flooded his veins. Someone had found him. After months of careful planning, fake identities, and elaborate cover stories, Someone had tracked him to the one place he felt safe. He looked around the diner with new eyes. The couple in the corner booth. Were they really on a date, or were they watching him? The man reading a newspaper. Had those pages turned once in the past 20 minutes? And the two men by the window were definitely not here for the pie. Another text. The waitress is pretty. Be a shame if she got hurt because of your choices. Nathan's blood turned to fire. They were threatening her. This beautiful, innocent woman who'd done nothing except serve him coffee and make him remember what it felt like to be human. That crossed every line he had. Keisha's hands were shaking as she opened the champagne bottle, but she forced them steady. She'd grown up in neighborhoods where you learned to spot danger before it spotted you. These men weren't customers. They were hunters, and Nathan was their prey. But he didn't see it yet. He was too focused on his phone, probably dealing with some business crisis that seemed important until men with guns showed up to make your problems very, very simple. She had maybe 2 minutes before they made their move. She grabbed a piece of receipt paper and wrote quickly. 2 men by window. Armed. Been watching you for an hour. They know who you are, Mr. Cross. Kitchen exit leads to alley. Black SUV waiting outside main door. Trust me. When Keisha returned with the champagne, something had shifted in Nathan's energy. He was coiled like a spring, alert in a way that told her he finally understood the danger. Here we go, she said brightly, loud enough for anyone listening. Our finest champagne for our finest customer. As she poured, she let her fingers brush against his hand. The contact sent electricity up her arm, but more importantly, it let her slip the note directly into his palm. Enjoy every drop, she said, her voice carrying a weight that had nothing to do with wine. Nathan's fingers closed around the note, and when he looked up at her, she saw recognition dawning in his eyes. Not just of the danger, but of her. You know, he said quietly, I've known since the first day you walked in here, Nathan Cross. The sound of his real name on her lips hit him like lightning. Have you ever fallen for someone who was living a completely different life? What would you do if you discovered someone you cared about was in real danger? Drop your thoughts below. For a moment, the chaos around them faded. It was just Nathan and Keisha, seeing each other clearly for the first time. Why didn't you say anything? He asked. Because Jake Morrison tips better, she said with a smile that could have powered the whole city. Despite everything, the danger, the deception, the armed men planning God knew what, Nathan laughed. Actually laughed. And in that moment, he realized he wasn't just attracted to this woman. He was falling in love with her. Keisha, he said, reading her name tag like it was poetry. We need to get out of here. I know, but they're watching every exit. Then we make our own exit. She raised an eyebrow. What do you have in mind, Mr. Billionaire? Something crazy enough that it just might work. Nathan stood up, champagne glass in hand, and did something that shocked everyone in the diner. He got down on one knee. Keisha Williams, he said, loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear. Will you marry me? The diner erupted in gasps and applause. And in the confusion of a spontaneous proposal, nobody noticed the billionaire and the waitress slip through the kitchen door and disappear into the night. But the 2 men by the window noticed, and they were not happy. The alley behind Ruby's diner smelled like grease and rain, but Nathan had never been more grateful for the scent of freedom. Keisha's hand was still in his from their dramatic exit, and he wasn't letting go anytime soon. Your car or mine? She whispered, pressed against the brick wall beside him. Neither. They'll have tracking on mine, and yours is a 15-year-old Honda with a busted muffler that'll announce our location to half the city, she finished. Smart and pretty. I like that in a fake fiancé. Even running for their lives, she could make him smile. There. Nathan pointed to a motorcycle parked behind the Chinese restaurant next door. Can you ride? Honey, I grew up in Detroit. I can ride anything with wheels. The way she said honey made his heart skip beats he didn't know it still had. Nathan hot-wired the bike in 30 seconds flat, which impressed Keisha more than any business deal ever could have. When he handed her the helmet, their fingers touched again, and this time neither of them pretended it was an accident. "Where are we going?" she asked, sliding onto the bike behind him. "Somewhere safe where I can explain everything. Everything. Why I've been lying about who I am, who those men are, and why." He turned to look at her, and the words caught in his throat. "Why what? Why I've been falling in love with a woman whose real name I didn't even know until 10 minutes ago." Keisha's arms tightened around his waist as the engine roared to life. "For the record," she said into his ear, "it's not just you." Nathan's safe house was a penthouse apartment 15 minutes across town. The kind of place that screamed money but whispered taste. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that probably cost more than Keisha made in a year, and a security system that would make the Pentagon jealous. "So this is how the other half lives," Keisha said, walking through rooms bigger than her entire apartment. "This is how the paranoid half lives," Nathan corrected, activating locks and alarms. "I bought this place 6 months ago when things started getting complicated." "Complicated how?" Nathan poured 2 glasses of actual champagne. Not the diner kind, but the stuff that cost more per bottle than most people made in a week. "Someone's been trying to kill me," he said simply. Keisha nearly choked on her first sip. "Come again." 3 months ago, my business partner Marcus Blackwood tried to force me out of Cross Industries. When I refused, he started playing dirty. Corporate espionage, leaked financial records, bribes to board members. Nathan walked to the window, staring out at the city lights. "Then last month, my brakes failed on the highway. Pure accident," the police said. "Except I just had the car serviced." "Nathan." 2 weeks after that, food poisoning that put me in the hospital for 3 days. The restaurant swore their kitchen was clean. He turned back to her. "This morning, I got a text saying I had 48 hours to sign over my company or face the consequences." Keisha set down her champagne and walked to him. "That's why you've been hiding at the diner. It's the one place I felt normal. The one place I felt." He reached up to touch her face. "The one place I felt like myself." "What would you do if the person you were falling for was being hunted by someone willing to kill? Would you run, or would you stay and fight? Let me know in the comments." "So Marcus wants your company," Keisha said, pacing now, her mind working. "But why kill you? Why not just buy you out?" "Because Cross Industries isn't just worth money. It's worth power. We have government contracts, military technology, artificial intelligence that could change the world." Nathan's jaw tightened. "In the wrong hands, it could also destroy it. And you won't sell." Not to him. Marcus doesn't care about innovation or helping people. He cares about profit and control. Nathan moved closer to her. "Everything I've built, everything I've worked for, it's meant to make life better. Marcus would turn it into a weapon." Keisha stopped pacing and looked at him with new eyes. "You really are one of the good guys, aren't you?" "I try to be. That's why you bought the diner. It wasn't just a hideout. You wanted to help people." Nathan nodded. "Ruby's was going under. The previous owner couldn't pay his debts. I bought it, kept all the staff, raised everyone's wages." He smiled. "Including yours." "Wait." Keisha's eyes widened. "That 20% raise last month was long overdue. And the health insurance that suddenly got better. Everyone deserves good health care. And the college fund for employees' kids. Jalen's fund has $5,000 in it already." Keisha stared at him. "You know about my son. I know you work double shifts to support him. I know he's the smartest kid in his class. I know you'd do anything for him." Nathan stepped closer. "And I know that any man who had you and Jalen in his life would be the luckiest man alive." The kiss happened like lightning, sudden, electric, impossible to resist. Keisha had been fighting her feelings for 3 months, telling herself that Jake Morrison was just a customer, just a fantasy, just a distraction from real life. But Nathan Cross was real. His hands in her hair were real. The way he kissed her like she was the answer to every question he'd ever had. That was real too. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Keisha laughed. "What?" Nathan asked. "I just realized something. I've been fantasizing about my boss for 3 months. And I've been falling in love with my employee. Is that going to be a problem for HR? I think we can work something out." But their moment was shattered by the sound of shattering glass. The penthouse windows exploded inward as masked figures rappelled down from the roof. "Nathan Cross," a voice boomed through a megaphone. "Time's up. Stay behind me," Nathan said, pulling Keisha toward a hidden panel in the wall. "Like hell," she replied, grabbing a heavy crystal vase. "I didn't survive 8 years of single motherhood to hide when things get tough. Keisha, these people are dangerous dash. So am I when someone threatens my family." The way she said family, including him in that sacred circle, made Nathan's heart soar even as bullets started flying. The hidden panel opened to reveal an armory that would make a SWAT team jealous. "Jesus, Nathan, what exactly did you do before you bought a diner? MIT, then military consulting, then built a tech empire." He handed her a bulletproof vest. "You, community college, then restaurant management, then fell for a billionaire." She strapped on the vest like she'd done it 100 times. "We both have interesting resumes." Marcus Blackwood's voice echoed through the penthouse. "Nathan, stop making this harder than it has to be. Sign the papers, and the girl doesn't get hurt." "He knows I'm here," Keisha said. "He's been watching me for months." "Of course he knows." Nathan's eyes were cold with fury. "But he made one crucial mistake." "What's that?" "He threatened you." Nathan's phone buzzed. A text message. "Elevator. Now, or she dies." But Nathan was already smiling. "What are you grinning about?" Keisha asked. "Because Marcus always was too arrogant for his own good." Nathan held up his phone. He just confessed to everything over text. "And this phone? It's been recording and uploading to FBI servers since the moment we walked in here." "You called the FBI?" "I called them 3 months ago. Agent Sarah Chen has been building a case against Marcus, but we needed evidence." Nathan pulled her close. "We needed him to make a move that was undeniably criminal. Kidnapping and attempted murder should do it." "That's what I was thinking." The elevator dinged and Nathan's phone rang. "Mr. Cross? This is Agent Chen. We're in position. Are you and Ms. Williams safe?" "For now. But Marcus has at least 6 men up here, and they're armed." "We know. We've been tracking them since they left Marcus's compound an hour ago." Chen's voice was calm and professional. "Can you get to the northeast stairwell?" "Probably." "Do it. We're coming up from below, and we have teams on the roof. Marcus Blackwood's reign of terror ends tonight." Nathan looked at Keisha, who was checking the magazine on a pistol like she'd been born to it. "Where did you learn to do that?" "My ex-husband was a Marine before he was a deadbeat." She smiled grimly. "He taught me a few things before he decided responsibility wasn't for him. Remind me to send him a thank you card. Remind me to introduce you to my son when this is over." "Is that a promise?" "That's a guarantee." They moved through the penthouse like a team that had been together for years instead of hours. Nathan knew every inch of his safe house, and Keisha had the kind of street-smart instincts that no amount of money could buy. When they reached the stairwell, Marcus was waiting for them. "Hello, Nathan. I really hoped it wouldn't come to this." Marcus Blackwood looked like what he was. A man who'd sold his soul for power and found it wasn't enough. Expensive suit, dead eyes, and a gun pointed directly at Keisha's heart. "Let her go, Marcus. This is between us." "No, I don't think so." Marcus smiled coldly. You see, I've done my research on Ms. Williams here. Single mother, working 2 jobs, son in elementary school. She has everything to lose. And you have nothing left to lose, Keisha said calmly, which makes you dangerous. Smart girl. Now, Nathan, you're going to sign these papers transferring control of Cross Industries to me, or I'm going to put a bullet in her brain. Don't do it, Keisha said. Don't let him win. But Nathan was already reaching for the papers, because he'd realized something Marcus hadn't. Agent Chen wasn't coming from below. She was already here. Agent Sarah Chun stepped out of the shadows behind Marcus like a ghost materializing from thin air. Her gun was pressed against his skull before he even realized she was there. FBI, drop your weapon. Marcus's face went white, but his gun stayed trained on Keisha. One move and she dies. One move and you die, Chen replied calmly. Your choice. But Nathan had already made his choice. In one fluid motion, he lunged forward, knocking Marcus's gun to the side just as Keisha dropped low and swept the man's legs. Marcus hit the ground hard, his weapon clattering across the floor. It was over in 3 seconds. Nice teamwork, Chen said, cuffing Marcus. Though next time, maybe wait for the signal? There wasn't time, Nathan said, helping Keisha to her feet. He was going to shoot. No, he wasn't. Chen smiled. Marcus Blackwood is many things: greedy, ruthless, megalomaniacal. But he's not a killer. He hired people for that. The men from the diner? Already in custody. We've been tracking this operation for weeks. Chen looked at Marcus with disgust. Corporate espionage, attempted murder, kidnapping, conspiracy. You're looking at life in prison, Blackwood. As FBI agents flooded the penthouse, Nathan and Keisha found themselves alone on the balcony, watching the city lights twinkle below them. So, Keisha said, this is what your normal Tuesday nights are like. Only recently. Nathan laughed, pulling her closer. Before I met you, my biggest excitement was quarterly earnings reports. And now I'm wondering how I lived 42 years without you. Keisha turned in his arms, studying his face in the moonlight. Nathan, what happens now? I mean, really, you're a billionaire. I'm a waitress with an 8-year-old son and a broken-down Honda. Now, Nathan said, cupping her face in his hands, I ask you properly. And for the second time that night, Nathan Cross dropped to one knee. But this time it wasn't fake. Keisha Williams, he said, his voice shaking with emotion. I know this is crazy. I know we've only known each other's real names for 3 hours. But I've been falling in love with you for 3 months. And tonight proved that life is too short and too dangerous to waste time pretending we don't feel what we feel. He pulled out a ring. Not some massive diamond that screamed money, but a simple, perfect solitaire that whispered forever. Will you marry me? Really this time? Keisha stared at the ring, then at Nathan, then back at the ring. Are you out of your mind? Completely. This is insane. Totally. We barely know each other. I know you work 16-hour days to give your son a better life. I know you remember every customer's coffee order. I know you're brave enough to slip a note to a stranger to save his life. Nathan's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I know you're the strongest, most beautiful, most incredible woman I've ever met. And I know that I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy. Keisha was quiet for a long moment. What about Jalen? What about him? He's never had a father figure. What if he doesn't like you? What if you don't like him? Nathan smiled. Keisha, any kid raised by you is going to be amazing. And any kid who's important to you is automatically important to me. And the money thing, the fact that you could buy a small country, the fact that I never have to worry about paying bills again means I can focus on what really matters, taking care of the people I love. Have you ever had a moment where you knew, absolutely knew, that someone was meant to be in your life forever? What did that feel like? Tell me in the comments. Yes. The word was so quiet Nathan almost missed it. Yes. Yes, you're out of your mind. Yes, this is insane. Yes, I'll marry you. Keisha was crying and laughing at the same time. But I have conditions. Name them. I keep working at the diner until I figure out what I really want to do with my life. Done. Jalen comes first. Always. Of course. And if you ever lie to me again about who you are or what you're doing, I will personally feed you to the FBI myself. I love you too, Nathan said, sliding the ring onto her finger. The kiss that followed was soft and sweet, and full of promises neither of them had expected to make when they woke up that morning. Agent Chen cleared her throat behind them. Sorry to interrupt, but we need statements from both of you. Can it wait until morning? Nathan asked, not taking his eyes off Keisha. Actually, no. But we can do it here if you prefer. For the next 2 hours, Nathan and Keisha told their story to FBI agents, prosecutors, and detectives. Marcus Blackwood's conspiracy had been larger than anyone realized. Corporate espionage, bribery, 3 attempts on Nathan's life, and plans to sell cross-industries technology to foreign governments. He'll be going away for a very long time, Chen assured them as she packed up her files. And Mr. Cross, you might want to consider upgrading your security. Men like Blackwood have long memories and longer reach. Already handled, Nathan said. Keisha and Jalen will have protection until this is completely over. We will, Keisha asked. Your family now. I protect my family. At midnight, Nathan drove Keisha home in his real car. A modest sedan that didn't scream wealth, but whispered quality. Her apartment was a 3rd-floor walk-up in a neighborhood that had seen better decades, but it was clean and warm and filled with love. Mama! 8-year-old Jalen came running from the living room where Nathan's security team had been keeping him entertained with video games. Mrs. Rodriguez said there was trouble at your work, but you were okay, and there was a nice man helping you, Anne. He stopped short when he saw Nathan. Who's that? Keisha knelt down to Jalen's level. Baby, this is Nathan. He's going to be part of our family. Jalen studied Nathan with the serious expression only children could master. Are you going to hurt my mama? Never, Nathan said, crouching down to meet Jalen's eyes. I'm going to love her and take care of her for the rest of my life. And if you'll let me, I'd like to love and take care of you too. Do you like dinosaurs? I love dinosaurs. Do you know about velociraptors? I know they were actually only about 2 feet tall and had feathers. Jalen's eyes lit up. Really? That's so cool. And just like that, Nathan Cross, billionaire, tech genius, target of corporate conspiracy, found himself sitting on a second-hand couch at 12:30 a.m., learning about every dinosaur that had ever existed from an 8-year-old boy who was about to become his son. 2 weeks later, Ruby's Diner was buzzing with excitement. Word had gotten out that their mysterious customer Jake Morrison was actually Nathan Cross, and that he'd proposed to Keisha right there in the restaurant. I still can't believe it, said Mrs. Henderson, the elderly regular who'd witnessed the whole thing. Our little Keisha, engaged to a billionaire. It's like a fairy tale, agreed another customer. But Keisha, serving coffee and wearing her engagement ring like armor, knew it wasn't a fairy tale. It was better. It was real. Order up, called the cook, and Keisha grabbed the plates with practiced efficiency. Table 7, Nathan's old table, was occupied by a young couple on their first date. The girl was nervous, playing with her hair. The boy was trying too hard, talking about his car and his job. Keisha smiled, remembering another first meeting that had started with lies and ended with truth. More coffee, she asked the couple. Yes, please, said the girl. As Keisha poured, she caught the girl's eye. First date, is it that obvious? Honey, the best relationships start with being nervous. It means you care. Keisha glanced toward the kitchen where Nathan was talking with the cook about upgrading the equipment. Just be yourself. The right person will love exactly who you are. That evening, Nathan found Keisha in their new apartment, a beautiful place that was big enough for a family but cozy enough to feel like home. She was reading to Jalen, both of them curled up on the couch. And the dragon realized that the treasure he'd been guarding wasn't gold or jewels. Keisha read. It was love, and love was worth more than all the riches in the kingdom. Is that really the end? Jalen asked. That's really the end. I like that ending. Me too, baby. Me too. Nathan watched from the doorway, thinking about treasure and love and the funny way life had of giving you exactly what you needed when you least expected it. Ready for bed, buddy? He asked Jalen. Can you tell me about work tomorrow? About the robots and the computers? Absolutely. But tonight you need sleep. As Nathan tucked Jalen into bed, the boy grabbed his hand. Nathan. Yeah, I'm glad you found my mama. Me too, Jalen. Me too. Later, alone in their bedroom, Nathan and Keisha held each other close. Any regrets? Nathan asked. About marrying a man I met 3 months ago? About becoming a billionaire overnight? About having to learn which fork to use at fancy dinners? Keisha pretended to think. Nope. No regrets. Even about the security detail that follows us everywhere? Even about that. Though I do feel bad for them. Following us to Chuck E. Cheese last weekend couldn't have been their most exciting assignment. Nathan laughed. They loved it. Agent Martinez is still talking about the pizza. And what about you? Any regrets about falling for a waitress with a smart-mouthed 8-year-old? My only regret, Nathan said, kissing her forehead, is that it took me 42 years to find you. Well, you found me now. Yes, I did. And as the city lights twinkled outside their window, Nathan Cross realized that all the money in the world couldn't buy what he had right here in his arms. Love, family, home, the things that really mattered, the real treasure. 6 months later, Ruby's Diner had a new sign. Home of the best coffee and the best love story in the city. Nathan still came in twice a week, but now he sat at the counter, watching his wife work and marveling at how she could make even the grumpiest customer smile. Jalen had his own table in the corner where he did homework after school, surrounded by regulars who'd adopted him as the diner's unofficial mascot. And every Tuesday afternoon at exactly 2 p.m., Nathan ordered champagne. Not to celebrate something that might happen, but to celebrate everything that already had. Love stories like this remind us that sometimes the most extraordinary things happen in the most ordinary places. Have you ever had a moment that changed your entire life? A chance encounter that led to something beautiful? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how love found you when you least expected it.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.